The morning sun had barely settled over the quiet streets of downtown Seattle when 12-year-old Claire noticed the woman standing across the sidewalk, thin arms wrapped around a toddler, eyes lowered, and shoulders trembling under the weight of something far heavier than the child she carried. The single dad, Mark, hadn't seen her yet. He was too focused on encouraging Claire to finish her breakfast before school. But Claire felt something stir inside her, something she couldn't ignore. It was the kind of ache you feel when you realize someone else is hurting more than you can understand. And in that moment, she whispered the words that would change all of their lives. "Daddy, can we share our food?" If you believe kindness and second chances can change the world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps stories like this reach more hearts. Mark finally looked up, following Claire's gaze, and that's when his breath caught. The woman looked exhausted, beautiful in a quiet, natural way, but visibly worn down. Her blouse was faded, her hair slightly unkempt, and her eyes carried the unmistakable fear of a mother who had run out of options. The little boy in her arms clung to her shirt, his tired face resting against her shoulder. Mark wasn't the type to get involved in strangers' lives. After his wife passed away 3 years earlier, he had built emotional walls so high even his closest friends couldn't climb them. But something about this moment, this mother, this desperation, it reached a part of him he thought had died with his grief. Claire tugged his sleeve, urging him silently. Mark hesitated, fighting the instinct to stay in his own world, to keep walking, to avoid the pain of caring again. But Claire's eyes were filled with so much sincerity, so much purity, that Mark felt his walls begin to crack. And before he understood why, he found himself standing up from the cafe table and gently waving the woman over. Her name was Hannah, though she didn't offer it at first. She looked shocked that anyone had acknowledged her at all. She blinked, as if unsure whether she was allowed to approach. Hunger, embarrassment, and pride fought inside her all at once. Mark simply nodded, quietly offering the empty chair beside Claire. Hannah looked down at her little boy, Jacob, and then back at Mark. She didn't say anything. She just lowered herself into the seat, as if her body had finally found a place safe enough to land. Claire immediately pushed her own plate forward, her heart glowing with innocent generosity. Mark ordered another breakfast platter without hesitation, despite Hannah's attempts to refuse. She tried to explain that she wasn't begging, that she wasn't trying to trouble anyone, but her voice shook, and the truth slipped through the cracks. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning, and Jacob had only had a small snack she'd managed to buy with the last few dollars in her pocket. She was looking for a job, any job, but no one wanted to hire someone who arrived with a baby in her arms and worry lines deeper than her years. Mark listened quietly, letting her speak at her own pace. He didn't pity her. He respected her. Anyone could see she wasn't a woman who gave up easily. She looked like someone who had fought every step of the way and was just running out of strength. Mark saw in her the same exhausted courage he once carried when he became a single dad overnight. As they ate together, the morning air slowly softened around them. The cafe owner, noticing the scene, discreetly brought warm milk for Jacob and extra pastries for the table. People passing by slowed down, watching with curious eyes, but no one interrupted. It felt like this little corner of the city had paused, just to witness something quietly beautiful happen. After breakfast, Mark found himself unable to simply say goodbye. Something inside him needed to make sure Hannah and Jacob would be okay. Not because he felt obligated, but because he knew what. It felt like to have help come too late. He offered to walk Hannah to the community center, where they helped single parents find temporary support. She hesitated again, still unsure if she deserved kindness, but Claire slipped her small hand into Hannah's and smiled up at her, dissolving her doubt in an instant. The walk was slow and gentle. Hannah shared pieces of her story, not everything, just enough to reveal that she had left a painful relationship, taken her son, and moved states hoping for a fresh start. But the fresh start hadn't come. She had moved into a cheap motel, used up her savings within days, and then found herself alone on the streets with nowhere else to go. Her voice cracked when she admitted she wasn't scared for herself, only for Jacob. Mark wanted to say something comforting, but the understanding in his chest was too heavy for words. He just nodded, letting her see that he wasn't judging her. Claire walked beside them, protectively holding Jacob's tiny hand whenever Hannah allowed it. For the first time in days, Hannah felt her heart loosen, her breath deepen, and a flicker of hope return. At the community center, the staff greeted Hannah warmly, promising to help. But before she went inside, Hannah turned back to Mark and Claire. Tears filled her eyes, not of fear this time, but gratitude. She didn't know how to repay them. She didn't know why they cared. But Mark simply told her that sometimes God sends the right people at the right time. And today, it was their turn to be those people. Days passed, then weeks. Hannah found temporary housing, then a part-time job in a local office. Mark checked in occasionally, not out of obligation but because he genuinely cared. Claire begged him to invite Hannah and Jacob over for dinner one evening, and when he finally did, it felt so natural, as if this connection had been waiting to happen all along. The kids bonded instantly. Jacob followed Claire everywhere, and Claire treated him like a little brother she'd always wanted. Hannah and Mark talked more each time they met, their conversations growing deeper, warmer, and more sincere. It wasn't a love story, not yet. It was something quieter, something healing, something built on compassion and trust. But sometimes that's exactly how the strongest stories begin. One evening, months later, as Mark watched Claire and Jacob play in his backyard, he glanced over at Hannah sitting beside him. She looked healthier now, stronger, filled with renewed purpose. She caught him looking and smiled gently, grateful, peaceful, and finally unafraid. And in that quiet moment, Mark realized that the morning his daughter asked if they could share their food, they had shared something far greater. They had shared hope, and from that hope, new lives had begun to grow. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more inspiring stories. Before the story ends, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you saw a hungry mother standing alone like Hannah?